Welcome to the Bearded Finisher Podcast, your one-stop show for all things finishing and coatings. Your host, Zach, and a variety of industry experts will guide you through the art of perfecting your finishing and business game. From seasoned pros to fresh faces, get ready for tips, tricks, and trends to elevate your knowledge and business to the next level.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Bearded Finisher Podcast. I'm your host, Zach. Today's episode, we have got Mr. Kevin Shimer. What is going on, Kevin?
Not much. Got a day off.
A day off? You didn't have to work today?
I did some stuff with family, and then I got some finish, and that was about it.
Nice.
I bought a drum sander.
Oh, that's nice. It's always good when you get to spend money on toys. It's like the funnest part of being in this business is all the toys you get to buy.
It'll get used.
Nice. Well, let's just kind of kick things off. Let everybody know. Let everybody know about you, Kevin, your backstory. I mean, how did you come into the coatings world? Your story. I mean, I followed it on social media over the years. It's an interesting one of how you ended up basically a finisher over a cabinet guy.
Sometimes I start to look back on it too. So I've only been doing this probably for, you followed it for the most part, 4 years for high-end finishing. And I do it for another fellow full time. But it all started, I was in school, and I just tinkered around the house, made some cabinets and stuff for family. And then got into doing, some friends asked me to do a project for them. And then that kind of just spiraled into me becoming a cabinet maker. And then did that all throughout, probably for 5 or 4 years in a townhouse, just on the side. And then that's kind of how we met. I was trying to figure out how to paint stuff.
Yeah, I've actually still got one of your cutting boards. Still got it, man. I use it all the time.
I'll always say building's easy, painting was the hardest part. So, I did a bunch of side work, and then COVID came along. It's a long story and stuff. I stepped away from my other job. And then David, who I work for now, took me on full time. And that's kind of been the journey ever since. And I kind of got thrown under the bus for high-end finish, but just kind of been figuring out along the way. And I've been with him for, I think it's about 4 years now.
For David, are you strictly doing finishing, or are you still building a little bit for him?
So I do 100% of his finish work, but then I'll help build on the side, and then I also install too for him. Yep. And then when I have free time, I do stuff on the side too for myself.
And let everybody know where you guys are over by St. Charles and West.
I would say I don't even know. He's about an hour and a half west of Chicago. He's out in kind of the middle of nowhere, and we do everything on his property and stuff. So he's got a nice little business that's really taken off the past probably 4 years. And there's two full-time builders that do all the boxes and face frames and everything, and then I do all the finish work.
Does he sell raw and all, or is it 100% finished?
We've done a couple raw where the designer had their own painter, but 99% is all finished.
And I'm assuming most of it's probably going into Chicago.
Lately, yeah, it's been probably the past 2 years. The majority of the work has been in Chicago and or north side of Chicago, North Shore, kind of where I'm from. Glenview, Winnetka, places like that.
So you're a lifelong Illinois boy.
Probably forever, yeah.
So, before finishing, tell us what, kind of before COVID.
Yeah, I was in the military for 4 years after high school. And then I got really into the medical field. So I pushed real hard. I don't even know how much schooling I've been through, 11 plus years. I tried to get into medical school, and I just couldn't get in. I couldn't get accepted. And a buddy recommended trying the chiropractic route, so I did it. I'll be honest, I wasn't in love with it. I finished my degree and everything. I became a board certified chiropractor. And then COVID hit, and I was a new doctor and everything, and we weren't necessary or whatever it was called. So I had about a 5-month break, and that's when Dave pulled me in and said, "Hey, I can give you work while you guys can't work." And then we started back up, and it was real slow, and I ended up just sticking with Dave, and I've been there ever since. So very fortunate that he gave me the opportunity and stuff. He was growing fast, and so I took over all his finish work somehow, which is hilarious because I hate painting.
I know all the time that you would message me or we'd be talking about something. I mean, you just cuss and finish it, and then you're like, all I do is finishing now. And I'm like, how the hell did that happen?
Every day. I dread most painting, and that's all I do every day. So it's pretty funny, but it's fun, and the stuff we do is cool. It's all custom. We do nothing repetitive. Everything's so start to finish. We all do it, and he's exploded. It used to just be kind of a kitchen here and there, or built in. Now it's full houses. So no, it's all cabinet. It's all cabinetry.
All cabinetry, so not much trim work. So that's nice.
No. Correct. Yep. If it was that, I wouldn't be here.
A lot of I've noticed on social media, on your social media, Kevin Shimer, where you post a lot. You guys are putting a lot of flush inset, beaded inset doors, and you pre-finish almost everything, and then you assemble it all after the fact, right?
I would say majority of his work is inset. That's really kind of his thing. We've done lately. It's been coming into some overlay stuff, which is nice because it gets flat. It's kind of flat pack. But you've probably followed over the years. We've been trying to get our inset stuff where we can assemble it after it's painted, because it's just, I'm sure everybody knows it's a dread to try to paint inset vertical, especially beaded inset. So yeah, and with I have very, very little experience, so it was quite a battle.
But man, your work's killer though. I mean, the stuff that you're putting out there on social media, it looks amazing. I mean, I would, for somebody not knowing you, if I didn't know you, there's no way I would say you've only been finishing for like 4 years.
It's a perfectionist thing. It helps that you care. I mean, I enjoy it too, so I enjoy what it looks like at the end. It's not like it's a job, but to me, it's something I look forward to. I do it on the side too, so it's like I enjoy seeing it from nothing to something.
You get to see it go all the way from beginning to end, and see the finished result. It is kind of nice.
Yeah, and it's not the same door. It's not the same job. It's always something new, something different. You get to meet the people. You get to see their excitement about it and stuff. So we when I started with him, we were with ML Campbell doing their pre-cat lacquer, and that was pretty good. That was my first introduction. I was using. Do you remember what I was using? Like Chem Aqua Plus or something like that?
Yeah, you're using like Chem Aqua Plus, and I want to say a little bit of Emerald here and there.
I think it was Chem Aqua Plus. Yeah. And I was having I had no idea what I was doing, but I was trying to get something other than off the shelf Home Depot paint. So then I got introduced to ML Campbell with Dave, and that was pretty good. And then we started having some issues, and that's when he went full bore and met this guy Jack, who was a Renner dealer. And now we're all Renner 2K poly solvent.
So what are you guys using on a regular basis, like the 643?
In terms of the top coat, it's the M060.
What kind of primer you got? So you're using 2K primer and 2K top?
2K primer, it's the M492 is the primer. So high solid. Yep. And then just the same thing. They'll tint that for white bases, and then we'll do it's the 10206 for the clear coats, or 10 sheen, but the 206 for the clear coats. Yep.
Yeah. 10 sheen, like that. The lower sheens are my favorite. I love like the matte.
We do majority. He pushes for 10 sheen. We've been doing some high gloss stuff, and I'm sure you've seen it. It doesn't help. Most of our stuff's profiles too. We don't do flat doors.
It's hard when you get into. I had a customer one time ask me to do it was a double beaded door. So it was beaded inset, and then it had like a quarter round on the outside of it, and it was flush inset, and they wanted it to be high gloss polished. It was miserable. Like,
wouldn't know where to start.
It was like one of the worst jobs. I mean, it's just so tedious. I mean, that was not even fun. After that was the last job I did with high gloss for anything that wasn't slab doors. After that, I was like slab only for high gloss. I'm not messing with it.
I mean, I have, again, literally almost had no experience with gloss, but I will say that the Renner, the 90 sheen off the gun, minus, dust and particles that we kind of have to deal with in the shop, for what little I can do, it turns out pretty amazing for a high gloss without polish. So I understand it's hard to polish profiles.
Yeah, when you start polishing, really the only thing that you're gaining is clarity. Your sheen's going to come up usually, like, you might get it to come up 3 or 4 degrees. I mean, not a whole lot. When you do black, you'll get it up a little higher, but it looks shinier because of the clarity that you get. You're cutting down all those nibs, and then you're just basically just like you would a car. The clarity and the depth of color gets so much better. I mean, the night on the water base 90 sheen is the highest you're going to get. I mean, water-based resins, they just don't get much higher than that. You got FPE that's a 98, but in most cases, if it's a polished color, I can tell you, you can put, other than black, if it's a high gloss white or just a high gloss clear over stain, you can use the Renner 90 or the FPE or the Circa Wet Look or the Centurion 3028. Human eye's not going to know the difference between any of them. They're going to be like, they all look shiny as shit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's cool to see it because I didn't know what to expect from it. But when I came back the next day, I was like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fun. I mean, once you get it going, it's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, we got a crazy purple one coming up probably the next couple months, so it's gonna be kind of wild. I think it's pelt. It's like a vanity with flute and stuff. So,
man, I can't even imagine like purple high gloss. Whew. One of the last jobs I did before I ended up selling my company was a big 30,000 square foot house in Oklahoma, and all the cabinets were full overlay slab doors, and they were all metallic. So we used metallic flake paint for all various colors, white metallic. We did a blue, a black, and then high gloss over the top of that in the entire house. We were there for, oh man, a little over a year, I want to say, total.
just doing the finish work.
Just doing just the cabinets. We didn't do any.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the cabinets. Yeah.
And the trim work was all. It was weird. There actually wasn't any case and base. It was drywall all the way down, and it came in, had made this little lip. And there was LED lights underneath it.
Holy cow! So lighting too.
It was like the craziest job. I mean, it was nuts. I mean, I fathomed half the times it was, I don't like that color. Let's just repaint it. That's more work. I don't care. Oh, okay. So let's kind of talk about like your experiences. So how has you've done solvent, you've done architectural, you've done solvent, and now you're in the industrial 2K. So over the years, how has your approach to finishing changed from the different mediums that you've used as far as coating types?
I mean, the stuff I was doing in my townhouse, I can't even. One, I barely remember it because it was water based. It was out of. I don't. Maybe you remember what the gun was, like one of those plastic project guns, like $100 or something. I don't know. So that was like some. I just trying to find something to do other than roll it on or paintbrush it on. And then I stepped into Dave's, and I didn't know what an air-assisted airless gun was. I had no idea what those pumps were. I had never used a gravity-fed gun. I think I bought a Fuji at one point for the garage, but it just didn't work. One of those turbines. Yeah, and it was too small for the big stuff. But so yeah, I really just kind of stepped in his place with very little finish idea of like anything. So he showed me how to use the pump real quick, and then I kind of just figured it out from there. And it wasn't too bad. It was even the pre-cat lacquer was pretty good. It was. I know it's a little. Well, at least people say it's kind of dated.
Yeah, it's just kind of brittle, but I mean, it's still out there, still used a lot. I think it's still considered one of the top 2 wood coatings in the country.
Yeah, and we've used the Renner one and stuff, but I don't have as good as results with the Renner pre-cat lacquer as I do with their poly. So
yeah, I mean, that's kind of like a lot of companies that are going towards the R&D. I mean, like what I usually tell people is the R&D in pre-cat's done. There is no making it better. Like it is what it is. They're all R&D now is 100% into water-based coatings and how we can improve them.
That's what it seems like, and I mean, we can't do water-based. We just really don't have the setup for it. We don't. It would be tough to switch over. I just met a guy in Chicago, Johnny Correa with Correa Custom Finishes. And he's used a bunch of Renner waterborne, but I think he switched to something else too, just because of availability. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I mean, the 2K poly. The thing with the 2K poly is the solvent based. I don't know anybody else using it around us, and the like online literature is non-existent. I can't find. So if I'm looking for like troubleshooting or anything, I got to go to either our supplier or reach out to you or my favorite guy up in Canada, Kyle.
Oh, Kyle's awesome.
He's probably one of the most helpful people that doesn't need to be, and he's very, very open to reaching out and helping. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, I always talk to him a lot, and Jim over at Jecco.
Is he going to be on here?
I'm going to try to get him on here. That's the plan. I want to get him on here to some of those guys up there. I want to get Jim over at Jecco, Kyle, Matt Slater, and get a lot of those guys on here to kind of share the insights that they've got.
The most helpful I've really gotten is from people just online, just I can't remember how we came across paths, and I think Kyle, I just reached out because he's got such a big following. I said, shot in the dark, I'll ask him some questions.
Yeah, I think it was similar. I think you just had a question one time about something, and we just kind of chatted over the years based on that, and I mean, that's kind of how that's what I love about this business. I mean, it's just everyone, it doesn't matter if you're in the same city, everyone just helps each other. I mean, everyone's like, hey, we can all get better.
I've met a couple people in Chicago the same way. There's no competition there. It's not like we're competing for the same job and stuff. So they've been super helpful. They invited me in. They got decades more of experience than I do. So it's been kind of cool to pick their brain.
That's always fun. I was using, when I had towards the end, I did switch over to water based, but I would say a good chunk of mine was Solvent 2K. I just found it a little easier to work with. I mean, water based is awesome. I love water. You have a little more control in the Solvent 2K. You're not as reliant on, I always say when you're dealing with water based 2K, you can be the best finisher in the world, but Mother Nature is the ultimate equalizer. She will slap you down in no time if you think you've got water based down. Just humidity's 10% too high or 10% too low. It throws a curveball in there for sure. The Solvent 2K, you don't really have that.
Yeah, no, and the place we have is furnaced. It's fully furnaced. It's got air conditioning and stuff. I mean, we're pulling a lot of shop air and stuff, but even in the Chicago winter, if it gets super cold, and I still got to get some spraying done, and it drops pretty damn cold in that shop sometimes, just because it's pulling all the air out. It's zero issues with the solvent base. So, I mean, if it gets too cold, like in those -40s, we don't do it, but still,
I can't even imagine -40. I think the coldest it got here.
That Texas air.
Yeah, in Texas. I think we did go through a cold spell like this year. We had like 3 days that were like in the teens. And then it went back up to like 50 or 60. So
rough.
I'll take the week in the teens, I guess, So, you guys are doing a lot of high-end cabinets. Are you guys seeing anything crazy on the trend side? I mean, I keep asking people because I'm wishful that it's going to go back to stain.
The trends that, I mean, we just did that one house in Chicago. It was a big job. That was the trend we're seeing with designers is colors, obviously. Not just like one color. I just did one house was like 7 colors or 8 colors, different colors of cabinets.
Good gosh.
I don't know if I'm being pessimistic, but I'm starting to see more high gloss, which is a little concerning. That's just more for like accent cabinets. It's not the big stuff. I just did a big stain job. I don't think I put it up. I'll put it up from yesterday. I stained a whole bunch of stuff of quarter-sawn white oak, so it looks pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. Sorry, does Renner have a solvent stain system?
No, I'm pretty sure it's a water-based stain, and it's been pretty good. The color is usually very consistent. We don't do any. I mean, we stain. There was no tinting. There's no spray tinting. There's nothing. Not doing any of that work. Like you see from the big shops and stuff. The color's been quite consistent between, say, like plywoods and solids or hardwoods.
Yeah, Renner's got an awesome uniforming stain. They use those, like a lot of the Italians, which Americans are switching to, is the micronized dye stains. Micronized pigments and micronized dyes. So it gives you a lot better uniformity when you're going across different wood species.
I'd be curious if we've had an issue especially with white oak, is it won't get into the, what do you call it?
Are you talking about it won't dive deep into the grain? It just sits on top?
Yeah, and that's not even with wire brush or anything. Just on a regular white oak, plain sawn white oak, it seems to want to come out of the grain. Even if you saturate the hell out of it, it just doesn't want to stay in there.
What are you hitting it with before you stain it?
Either 120 or 150.
So if you on oak, I know oak is a bad one, and walnut. If people want to stain walnut because they're that less porous wood and tighter grain, especially on that white oak, if it's like rift-sawn or quarter-sawn, spraying and trying to push more towards the dye over the micronized pigments, and it's a different curve to spray staining, but it allows it to dive deeper into the wood because of the air pressure.
I'm gonna give it a try. I mean, I haven't got the best answers on the why more people say just to saturate it more, and it's like how much stain can you throw on there before this stuff dries so quick too.
Yeah, or too big. The micronized pigments are too big to actually get down into there. So the dyes are better. The dyes will dive deeper into the wood grain, but also water-based stains tend to penetrate better when they're atomized, which coming out of a cup gun, they're going to atomize versus just brushing them on and wiping them off. So that's from my time on the manufacturing side and deal with some of the raw material guys and doing the R&D on water-based stains. That was a big deal. Is water-based stains, they'll dive deeper into the wood when they're atomized because it shears those colorants, the micronized pigments better that are in there.
We'll have to play around with it, yeah, because we got a couple samples came up and we just kept having that same issue with it's in there, and then when you wipe it, it's gone. It comes right out.
Well, and the great thing is when you go to the spray, that you can do spray wipe, but if you pull your stain back, cut it back 15-20%, something like that, with a reducer or distilled water, if it's a water-based stain, then what you do, you don't have to wipe it.
It's just sitting on the top then?
Sort of. It's sitting on the top, but it'll shear into the wood better, but it won't. Not wiping it, you can build your stain a little better. You just kind of fan it in there nice and light.
But you got to reduce it?
You don't have to. You just got to be very careful. A 1-1 or a 1-2 tip, small tip, because you don't want very much. Turn it down. You don't want a whole lot out there. You want to do a super fine mist is what you want.
Okay. I'll give it a whirl. Be interesting. I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what you think once you spray it. I mean, when I was doing the research and started digging deep into the water-based stains because everyone's wanting them, that was one thing that a lot of guys were telling me that I was finding. And then with my research, it was just the water-based stains just are better sprayed than they are wiped.
Interesting. I'll check into that. I'll definitely give it a try because we got a couple of big ones coming up that the color is always great, but it's just for some reason it won't stay in there. So I'll give it a whirl. But yeah, I mean, it's the only stain we've used with them. It's a good product. Otherwise, we don't lie. There's a lot of bin wax used. Bin wax has always been good for us. It's no problems. It's easy to use.
Easy to use, easy to get.
Easy to get. And I've made up a bunch of different colors just on some simple percentages and stuff that have worked out really well.
There's a lot of new ones out there. A lot of the guys, I know Envirolax got one out. General Finishes has got one out where they just send you like a chart and you basically scan a code and it tells you if you're going to spray it, if you're going to wipe it, here's the base, here's the water, and here's the colors, and then you can modify it from there. But basically you get a kit and you just make your own stains.
That's General Finishes?
Yeah, General Finishes has got a kit, and so does Envirolax. They've got a kit that they just released, and Envirolax kit's got a uniforming stain in there that does very similar to what the Renner one does, but he's got a killer system that you can, I don't remember what it is price-wise, but you get the dyes, you get the micronized pigments, you get the bases, and then a booklet, and you just basically, I was talking to Denny Chans, he was on the other day, and he just did a class on it up in Minnesota, and open a book, find the color you want, there's a barcode, you scan it, pulls you up to a website, and it tells you if you're making a spray stain, this much percentage of base, and here's the percentage of the 3 or 4 colors that you need, and this much water.
And that was Envirolac?
Yeah, Envirolac, yeah.
Yeah. The guy I just met with, kind of towards Chicago, I think it's Glenview, who would probably be a good guy for you to talk to, too. If you don't know him, Johnny Correa.
I know of him. I think we've talked online, but I've actually never talked to him in person.
It's an awesome name to begin with, but I believe he uses Envirolac.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. They've got some good products up there.
Yeah. So I know where his distributor is and stuff, so it's not too bad. A bunch of the stuff for us I think it's called Focal Finishes. A bunch of the stuff for us has just been, ML Campbell was easy to do because they could ship it to us with the wood distributor, and then Renner is we have to go get it. So he's doing so much Chicago jobs now that it's really not out of the way. The stuff is pricey though. I know people complain it's pricey.
I mean, yeah, it's when you get into those industrial finishes, man, they're not cheap, but they sure do. You go into a job now where they've sprayed Precat and you're spraying solvent 2K poly, like it's night and day difference.
It seems like it. No, we joke about the price, but it's not like we're respraying anything. We're not redoing anything.
You don't have to deal with cracks on your 5-piece doors or any of that with the Solvent 2K. It makes it so much easier.
It's been pretty good for as much as I've pumped out for one person. It's been pretty good.
You pumped out quite a bit, man. I see you posted stuff late at night.
It's been wild. It's been an interesting experience. So I mean, he's killing it. We're doing a lot of work for that guy.
So are you still doing stuff on your own though? I mean, are you still kind of side hustling?
Yeah, when I can. It's just built-ins here and there. I won't take anything on big. He's been super nice to me. He lets me do it on the side whenever I can if I'm in the mood for it. So I probably wouldn't do it if I couldn't do any finish. So I can spray at the shop if I want to.
Oh, okay. So you can build it and then take it up there.
Yeah, I'll never spray in the garage again. I feel like that's going backwards in life. So.
Yeah, and once you get into a booth, it's got the good ventilation. You're like, yeah, I can't. The plastic is over. I'm done with that.
And just trashing. I mean, I trashed that townhouse. So
do you guys still have the townhouse, or did you guys get rid of it?
No, we moved. We're here 2 years now. We moved out.
Okay.
Yep. So just down the road, but yeah, I'm still trying to do more in the garage, so I don't have to be gone as much. So I'll build stuff here, and then maybe take it out there. Or I'm still trying to do it the same way, where no cabinet boxes really have to get painted. I'll take the parts to work, spray everything flat, and then I'll assemble it back in the garage. It's been pretty. It's worth the time and effort to try to design it that way, so you can paint it that way.
Yeah, I remember always trying to convert cabinet shops. I think I ended up, before I left, we converted 2 to either doing that weird rear Senko staple or the lamello, and then they would just send me a flat pack. Yeah, they would just send me a flat pack of face frames, panels, and doors, and it was just everything goes on the rack, and then everything goes back.
We got that thing that way. We got one of those at the shop probably maybe a year and a half ago, and it's changed everything.
The lamello?
Yeah, the Zeta P2. And I just got one. I got one myself. It helps everything out. But
I mean, they say they're expensive, but I'm like,
it's not.
I mean, I get it. Everything that you buy in a cabinet shop is expensive, but I mean, for the fact that you can apply face frames after finished and you just build it into the cost, I'm like, it just seems so much easier.
If I can afford it, cabinet shops can afford it. You do have to start planning stuff differently and maybe designing things a little differently, but it's really not. I mean, it's not bad. It's upper cabinets are hard if you got to paint underneath and stuff. Like you'll see, we got a couple uppers that I got to spray as full cabinets and stuff. But if it's 3 uppers versus an entire kitchen, that's nothing.
I had a couple guys that would do, they did the UV undercoated. I mean, the UV boxes, and then he started doing, because he didn't. We'd spray the face frames, and then you could see the raw, or it was UV coated underneath. And then every once in a while, someone would complain about it. So he was a little cabinet shop. So he just he basically put little spacers in there and did that lamello deal and banded the underneath of them. And I just finished panels, and he just popped them up in there.
Yeah. I did that for our laundry room. It made life easier. Again, I can spray everything flat. The only it's hard to do with like miter folds, obviously. If you got to design it differently and stuff. But now for the majority of our work, we got a huge white oak island coming up, and that thing's just going to get snapped together as pieces.
That's pretty awesome. So let's, I'm just going to hit on a few things, and we can get off topic or anything else you think of, but what was the moment that you decided, F it, I'm just going to go into finishing? Just dive in.
I just had this chat with our 11-year-old about, it's ironic that how much I hate painting. We hired someone to paint our simple house because I didn't want to paint anymore. I was just like, I don't want to paint trim. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but I was just like, I just don't want to do it. But I think it's just because it's part of a cabinet shop. I can't imagine, if I didn't like cabinets and seeing things come together and custom builds, I wouldn't do it. There's no chance. But the fact that it's part of a cabinet shop and it's all, new stuff, we got some really cool things coming up. It's not just we're not just knocking out boxes left and right for, stock cabinetry. You're
not doing the builder grade houses. You're doing custom stuff.
Correct. Yep. And so it's being part of that whole atmosphere. I do all the painting, but I still get to step into the build side and help them, or at least see how it goes together. Majority of the time I still install with them. So I'm on site with them. But it might not be start to finish. It might be the starting or the end. I usually do all like the kind of final adjustment stuff with Dave. Do all the things the other guys don't like to do, the tedious stuff. I install all of his all the mechanisms, the hardware, the pullouts, drawers, and all that stuff. It's usually on my end.
When you talk about doing the tedious stuff, this is always one that the one that gets everyone is the touch up, because inevitably there's going to be something face nailed at some point or another. Like, so are you the one doing on-site touch up? And if so, like how do you? What's your approach to on-site touch up?
We've never done any.
Never done any.
We'll I'll paint the crown stuff, and we'll install it on site and nail it in and stuff. And we got our normal wax pens or wax sticks. But other than that, I mean, I know there's been some instances where countertop people have done some pretty serious nicks, and I've never been there for the conversation. I don't know how it goes down. I don't know if someone comes in and paints, so I really couldn't tell you, but we've never had a call back for finish work.
So most of your touch-up world is in those the wax sticks, and do you just blend colors when you get to the crazy colors? I mean, like if you're doing toe kick around that purple one, for instance.
I'm not sure about the purple one. There's the supplier has like this crazy range of colors that we can get.
Yeah.
And there's lately, even with some of the wild colors, there's always something close enough. Like maybe I can see it, but if you're just walking through the house, you'll never see it. Unless you're looking for it. The only callback stuff we ever had is the door, and then just bring that back to the shop and fix it.
I had one guy that would always say he would hire me. He had a guy that pre-finished his cabinets at his shop, and then he always hired us to go in and do the touch-up. Every once in a while, we might have to do some feather spraying on a panel or something. And then he'd come to me one day. He's like, "Man, every time you go touch up a cabinet, it's like a couple $1,000s." And I'm like, well, one, that's because your installer doesn't know what a pin nailer is. And second, like the guy that's painting your cabinets isn't doing the greatest job in the world either. So there's other stuff to repair. So I was like, just give me your painting and we'll cut down on that. And he was like, okay.
That'd be huge. Yeah. No, I've always marveled in it because the Johnny, who I was just talking about, he does a lot of painting in house. So I'm always kind of just curious, like how do they go about that? And even for just to hear if clients are even up for that. I know some people don't like obviously finish spraying in their home and stuff, but he does a lot of finish work in houses, so it's interesting to hear him talk about it or watch his videos and stuff. And he's done touch up work for people with Renner because he can do it. And he said it's not too bad, but we've never had it except for stuff that can physically come back.
I used to use one of those ones that I think that Mohawk made them, maybe, I think it was Mohawk that made them. They were fillable pens, so they were little paint marker pens. Yeah, so we would take some paint, you have whatever time you did, but we would mix it at the shop, fill the pens up if we knew we were going to touch it up, and you could get through a whole job if you just had a putty that was close and you got really good with that pen and had a felt tip on it. And you could just brush it in, and it would kind of disappear. But after that, the pen was trash. I mean,
right, of course. If it's 2K, are you actually catalyzing that?
Yeah. The solvent you're gonna have to.
Okay, I know they make little like touch-up spray cans. I've seen some people use that you can mix those up right away, and it's got like this bottom, and it looks like just an aerosol can.
Yeah, those are the little prevails. Those are called little prevails. They work pretty good. I mean, you got to thin it on most products. But if you're solvent, it works pretty good. But yeah, we would just catalyze it at the shop if we knew we were going to do it that day, or the guys would take some paint with them and then take some of the hardener with them, mix up what they need on site with like a drug dealer scale, for lack of a better term, and just mix up a little bit on site, throw it in there, write the time on it, and then when they're done, they just throw it away. I mean, just one of the costs of doing that touch up like that, but it seemed to work pretty good.
Well, that's good. I've always wondered because there's been, I can still picture some of the countertop issues where or appliance guys that came in like rhinoceroses and stuff, and
they roll those giant slabs in to go on the island, and then you see like the thing's like 12 feet long, and it's like 2 cabinets wide, so it's like 12 feet by like 4 feet, and you see like 3 guys, and you're going, there's only 3 of you to put that thing up there, gentlemen. I don't think this is going to work.
No, they can barely handle some of those Sub-Zero fridges and stuff. So it's like,
yeah, oh man.
Yeah, no, luckily we've had no on-site touch-up stuff. Just anything that can come back, we'll respray it, obviously. But
Well, I guess if you're using like the lamello or those ones that detach, most like if you get a panel, unless it goes behind something, even most finished panels you could pop off, bring them back, and spray them, and then take them back.
it's an incredible tool. I know it's a very simple tool, but I think most people should, especially if you're a face frame cabinet shop, it's kind of like no-brainer.
Let's say someone you're a new guy into it, fairly new. Um, what's a life lesson that you learned the hard way, whether it be for finishing or even cabinet building, to get guys that you'd be like, hey, I did this, don't do that.
I know time. I would say time's huge. I still push it at work when timelines get a little short. I say that's not like doable. Like, it's got to dry. It's got to do whatever. Or especially dark colors, they need if I can't get 2 primer coats, I get pretty irritated. My time's kind of limited. That's we know better. That has to be done. Because Renner's primer is pretty amazing. I mean, I don't know that much about other primers, but it needs 2 coats if you want an awesome finish. That's from what I've learned from the people I've talked to. It's like, get a nice light coat on the first time, then do your second coat, and it should look like a top coat.
Exactly. I always encourage people, if you're questioning it, the good thing about solvent polyurethane is there is no DFT. There's no maximum dry film thickness. It doesn't matter. As long as you either get chemical adhesion or mechanical adhesion, you're fine. It's not like lacquer or 5 mils that's going to start cracking and fall apart. That doesn't matter. But I would always encourage people, get good with the primer. Get there. I mean, get there with the primer and then do a light sand, and you can probably get away with 1 finish coat. Like, if you do all the work in the primer, the top coat, it makes the top coat just perfect.
Yep. I learned that. It took me a while to learn that. It took me a while to get that second primer to look perfect. One thing I kind of picked up from someone else is just, I don't know if it's the right way to do it, but I've always done that first primer coat and then do a pretty harsh sandback and then put a nicer primer coat on. And that's worked very well lately. But just, yeah, and it kind of exposes if there's any issues. And the second coat is usually pretty. I rarely do 2 top coats, color coats, whatever. Rarely, maybe with the darks.
Yeah, if you build it with the primer, that's the thing. Your system is like the best system is, everyone says 2 primer, 2 top. That's a great system, but if you do it right, you can get there with 2 primer and 1 top.
Yep, and 2 top is, it gets pricey, I can imagine. So, and it's time. I understand people have timelines and stuff, and it's time is. I've definitely learned to appreciate time with finish. You can't rush it. I used to rush it nonstop, obviously. And then just asking people. You can't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, I don't know anything. I always tell people it's funny. Like, I really don't know much about paint. I know I don't enjoy it, but I paint for a living now. Most people that know me, there's some sarcasm, but I really enjoy building things and seeing them turn into something. So I like the finish side because it is the final. It's really the only thing people care about. No one cares what the box looks like underneath. But yeah, I mean, you got to ask questions if you don't know what you're doing. Obviously, especially with this Renner stuff. There's nothing. I can't find anything out there that's super helpful. It's all water-based information. So if I can get a hold of Jack, otherwise I'll try to find people and pick their brains. There's that wild guy out in England or wherever he is, Matt, the Insta sprayer.
Yes, Insta sprayer. Oh my God, I've seen him go off on some people. I love him.
And I think I found him because he uses a lot of Renner solvent based. So I reached out to him a bunch, and I follow him. I know he's kind of a cowboy out there, but a lot of stuff is helpful.
I mean, he's got some amazing techniques when it comes to, I absolutely hate caulking 5-piece doors. I think it's the worst thing you can do. But some of them have such bad, mill marks on them or router marks that they're just jaggedy and just look like complete crap after you prime them. So I remember watching him one time and just, it's tedious and time consuming, but taking that razor blade when he does them and just scrapes every bit out. And I'm like, holy crap, that's genius. Incorporated to that.
He's got to be the most detailed person that I've ever come across in terms of nitpicking and maybe driving himself too insane, but it's impressive. It's impressive work. It's cool to see.
Uses the what is it, the guide coat for sanding. I've not seen anyone else use that other than automotive guys.
I tried it. It was interesting.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean,
it'll drive you nuts though, because then you really start chasing. You start chasing everything. You're like, oh, I just sanded the door for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it'll make you pull your hair out. Like, I mean, I've seen guys do it in automotive, and I just see a finished cabinet, even though it looks amazing, and I know that you could put that guide coat on there and just bash someone over the head, because it'll find you thinking, oh man, this thing's like 98% perfect to put that guide coat, and you're like, this thing's like 70% trash. What the hell just happened?
If you're lucky, no. It was interesting to do just to see what would happen, but then I was like, no, I can see this ruining my life. So
we better get rid of that one.
Yeah, I mean, the patience obviously is the biggest thing. If you can, even at work, it starts to get too quick, and I go, it's like I need more time and stuff like that. And they know it's just, especially doing it, most of the stuff I get finished ready, but I still find a bunch of stuff that I got to rehit. With the oaks, I'll usually resand all the oaks just in case. But yeah, I'd say research products for someone that's new. You got to find something that's obviously findable. You don't want to just like hope you can get it once in a while. Like Chemaco Plus, that was very hard for me to get. Some Sherwin-Williams would have it, some wouldn't. I mean, I couldn't find anything. I'd be driving all over. You could ask my wife. I'd be like leaving for the day to go get some, just because I called it. And some people didn't even know what it was. I was like, oh. But yeah, having something. I mean, even Dave would say the same thing. It's got to be available and at least have someone knowledgeable. Because we had trouble with ML Campbell. The guys were kind of they wouldn't answer questions well, or they give us generic answers. And then we just kind of had enough and went our own ways.
Yeah, that's something that with me going on this new journey, because I left CIC, I resigned, and now I'm doing the podcast, but I'm also throwing around the ideas and looking at maybe doing some sort of offering training videos, like with the manufacturer or with an OEM shop. You go in, get the system down, create videos that they then own, that they can go and say, hey, all right, new guy, sit down and watch our YouTube videos, or sit down and watch our DVDs and learn how to make sure you're putting it up right.
Yeah, otherwise you're just going off YouTube hoping that someone's using that product. And again, renter solvent bases, it seems to be mythical out here. I can't find anybody that's using it.
No, because there's no distributors. He's pulling it from Italy, because Renter North America, I think, only makes water.
Okay, it seems like it, and he's been pretty good about getting. We've only had a couple of issues where maybe we won't be able to get the catalyst, which obviously you need, but it wasn't like it didn't ruin anything. He still was able to get it. We might have to wait a little bit more. But in terms of availability, he's been pretty good, I would say, in general.
Now, I honestly, until I knew you were using the Renter solvent, I didn't know anyone in the U.S. was using Renter solvent. I mean, no one talks about it. You're right. I mean, and trying to find data sheets on the Italian websites, it's impossible.
No, I'll type the numbers in online, and it just seems like, I can find where to buy it, but that's about it. Luckily, it's a very forgiving product. It's not, it took a little adjustment stuff, but I mean, even in terms of thinning, your thinning's anywhere from 10 to 30 they recommend. Sometimes even 30 doesn't seem like enough with the primer. It's pretty thick.
Yeah, that high solids primer on the solvents. Yeah. Well, and that's what's crazy, though. I've noticed that it doesn't even matter when you're talking about any of the Italian products. They're really hard to get data sheets on, whether it's Circa or Malacy or any of them. I mean, Novak, Civum, they make it very hard to get the data sheets or the SDS sheets to fully understand it. I don't know if that's because they do more training in Europe, so no one needs them. I would imagine, but it's definitely interesting on the fact that, when I was with manufacturer, you would get, we have them all on our website, had them all on their website, because you'd get 5 to 6 calls a day, minimum.
Just on
Need the data
troubleshooting.
sheet. Well, I need the data sheet, need the SDS, need the data sheet to know hardener or reduction or what I can reduce with. I mean, and to know that the European stuff is so scarce of getting the data sheets, but there's still so many people using it.
That's interesting. I didn't know that was like a common thing. I knew most people that are using Renner are using water based. But and a lot of it is just because of the buildings they're in don't allow solvent based. Yeah, it's not that they even want to use water based, because I think a lot of guys I've met want to use solvent, but their shop won't allow it.
Local restrictions. I mean, the makeup air, what they have to do, fire suppression, is just easier. But yeah, Renner also has a plant in Charlotte.
Really?
Yeah, but it only makes water based. They don't make any solvent products. That's all comes from Italy.
The beauty of doing work at Dave's shop is it's Dave's shop. It's on his property. It's a big barn. It's a big building. He's grown. It's a lot since I've been there. So it's kind of a well established little spray booth. It's also like the assembly area, kind of a storage area and stuff. But for the most part, we can get 10 by 12 in there. We can get some. I mean, you've seen we've gotten some beasts in there.
Yeah, you guys have done some giant ones.
Yeah, and that's really where we started using or preying on the lamello, because some of those cabinets were getting to be like 5 foot by 10 foot tall, and that's trying to spray that, beat it inside. It was like,
you're laying it down flat, but still hard to keep a wet edge on those when they're that big.
No, he's come a long way too, just trying to figure it out, because he used to do all the spraying too. So he's kind of like, yeah, I get it.
So he feels the pain so he understands when you're like, hey, I need an extra week to get these done. He's like, okay.
Yeah, and it took. There's one. The main guy that used to be there he's moved on to a different work. But we all kind of came together to figure out new ways to build stuff and try to shoot it up the chain and be like, hey, can we do this instead? And it'll be a lot easier. And it actually kind of works, because now they can build all the boxes and start another set while I'm doing the finish work. And then it's dry, then we can assemble. So it's been pretty good.
That's pretty awesome. Makes you a lot more efficient.
Yeah, we can snap face frames on in-house if we have to between walls.
Oh, yeah.
So we can scribe it and then get the boxes in and then put the face frame physically on, versus trying to just lift a monster box.
Yeah, because you can do separate boxes, screw them together, and then snap the face frame on. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Most people's dread is obviously the in-between walls with no scribes. So, but yeah, no, the lamello is a pretty game changer, especially for finish work.
That's why everyone's like, man, why don't you do cabinets? And I'm like, no, I'll stick with just painting. Like, I don't have the patience to build them.
It's funny. It's like the exact opposites.
The investment in the equipment and the patience to build them and cut them, I'm like, it's just too much. I'd rather just paint them all day long.
It is, but like I kind of, even looking in the garage now, I'm fortunate to work at his shop. We got all this stuff. We got the wide belt sander. We got fancy saws. We got everything. But you really don't need it. It just makes you faster. I can still build all I want pretty much in this garage, but I can't finish, which is the ironic part. It's actually kind of nice just to build in here, but the only thing I need is like a spray booth. That's what you like really need. The building is not that bad. It's actually, if you do fancy stuff and get really detailed, it might be a little harder. But building boxes and cabinets is not that bad. It's the finish that really kind of
like get you in the butt. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
unless you want to destroy your garage. This garage is too nice for that. So
yeah, it's just. You can put as much masking down as you want. I don't care. It's gonna go everywhere.
I sprayed maybe 10 house doors for us when we moved in here. Someone gave us let us borrow their just airless sprayer, which I've never used in my life. That's an unbelievable amount of paint. And I taped everything on, masked everything off. I can still see where it fell on the floor. And I thought I covered it up. So that was just that was a learning experience. But
yeah, it is interesting though when you get into airlesses, because there's still a ton of guys that use airlesses out there, even fine finishers, that they'll still use airlesses. When you make that transition into either a AAA or a gravity-fed cup gun, that's the majority of what I do now is gravity-fed or AAA, and just having so much more control over the paint the air, how much paint's going on the surface. And then you do that for so long and go back to an airless, like do a training or something. It's like you got a fire hose in your hand. You're just like, oh, Jesus.
And I've always wondered, because I follow quite a few people that are doing big time cabinetry work, and they're still using their Graco, whatever it is. And I always, I've looked at the price points, and it's really not drastic. If I were to think about it, it's not compared to the other money they're spending. So I always wonder why they won't take that leap to just do an airless or an air-assisted airless.
Where the real hurt comes in for those guys is most of them are doing it on site, but the compressor.
Oh, for on site for sure.
Yeah, well, like if you have to have a decent one. Air assisted is a little better than like a gravity fed cup, but you're gonna be hauling around a pretty decent compressor to do a AAA.
Yeah. But the guys in shop, I've never understood. I mean, they're getting good finishes and stuff. I just don't know why they're using that much paint. You can get it into the bead. It's probably pretty easy to get in bead, but
and everywhere else.
And everywhere else, yeah. No, it was. I think we painted something for Dave's. He's got another side business, and we painted a trailer with an airless, and I was just like, oh my! The amount of paint that came out of that thing was. After doing cabinet painting, it's just like, holy cow! You really got to pay attention. So, if you're going to do cabinetry work and you're going to do a lot, and you can afford, you got to put money in your finish work because that's all that people care about. Nobody cares about your interior maple boxes or whatever you're using. We don't even have a fancy one. We're not rocking a Kremlin or anything that everybody brags about. It's just you get a super nice finish. I just got a couple of Sada guns. They're nothing fancy.
My favorite is always the Iwata. An S Iwata is like my favorite gravity fed gun. I love those things.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen them. I don't know much. Jack is a supplier for Sada, so that's what we can get from him.
Sada makes some great guns. I don't know why when I got into the gravity fed world, I don't know, it may have been cost wise because I think Sada, the Nest Iwatas are a little less. That may have what gravitated me towards them, but I just love them. I think I've used a Sada once, and it was nice. I mean, I felt it was fancy.
I have nothing to compare it to except for a plastic project painter off Amazon. So
that's a big gap there.
I mean, I knocked out probably 10 built-ins with those things. I would basically buy one for like 2 projects and then throw it out, and then buy another one because they just don't last. And then I would just start going like, well, maybe I should buy something nicer instead of keep buying more.
We did a table job, like we were doing it was like a insane huge table, and we used polyester, like a polyester with a cobalt additive, and that is some of the nastiest stuff I've ever sprayed in my life. But you put it on 10, 15 mils wet, load it up, and then sand it flat, and then put a high gloss on it. We used automotive clear, but the best advice I got was a guy's like, man, just go to Harbor Freight, buy you a $30 gun, and just tear it up with that polyester and just throw that son of a bitch in the trash because it's worthless after that.
Yeah. No, I've seen people I follow a couple people that do like door painting with high gloss, and they're using that. It looks like, is it pink?
It's like got a pink hue. That cobalt has got a pink hue to it, and that stuff is crazy.
As much as I joke about painting, like I jokingly hate it, but it's still very intriguing to get better at it. So I think that always helps too. It's just like if it was just the same stuff, it'd be boring. I probably wouldn't do it. But everything's new. That definitely helps. But yeah, for someone new and looking to get into painting, I wouldn't. Good luck.
Good luck. One of those is I always tell people is like plan for the worst and hope for the best, but also just don't quit. I mean, you're a prime example. Just don't quit. Just keep going. I mean, you'll get through it. And you'll figure it out, and you'll learn it, and you won't do it again next time.
Yeah, hopefully. Like you were saying earlier, the preparatory work is. I've learned that top coating can be pretty easy if you just put the time in. If you put 2/3 into the prep and then 1/3 into the top coat, it seems to be pretty, at least with the 2K poly. So
yeah, you'll come out with a pretty kick-ass product. If you're spending 75% of your time on prep and prime, you're going to come out with a kick-ass product, hands down.
Yeah. If I can pull a door off the rack and it looks like it's top coated, but it's only primer, then I'm just like, this is gonna be easy day.
This is gonna be easy.
So Yeah. I mean, and besides that, the biggest thing that I wish I would have had was just like mentorship. If you can find someone that you can go learn from, it's hard to watch online because there's too many products, there's too many variables. You don't know what they're using or doing, even if they say that. But if you can at least go watch somebody or follow or talk to them. I'm such a hands-on person that I just had to learn by doing. But it would still be nice to have like you like here showing me how to do it versus just like, oh, I'll try it on this kitchen that's about to get installed.
Cross your fingers, your eyes, your legs, everything, and hopefully it goes out good.
Yeah, no. If you can find someone that can help you at least in person, at least for me, that would have been way more beneficial. I probably learned a lot faster and you know slept a little better, but it's gotten a lot better. That's for sure.
What's Kevin like to do outside of finishing when you're not behind a gun?
Oh, side builds. I still have I have a tremendous amount of side work that's possibly lined up, but luckily I can just tell I don't have timelines really. I take on jobs that people don't need tomorrow, um, so that's been pretty. I'll just do them as I can. I'll paint them here and there. I don't take like a full job to paint. I'll paint like a cabinet, bring it back, paint a cabinet, bring it back, paint some doors, bring them back.
But you're a pretty big family guy too. I mean, you do quite a bit with your daughter and stay pretty active in the family too.
Yep, we got 11-year-old girl Dylan, and my wife works at home, which is super helpful. She's been at home probably for the past 7 years working, so it's been really nice. Yep, built her a pretty little office.
11, man, I'm not. My daughter's 3. I'm scared to death.
It's fun. It's fun. She's a blessing. She's like an adult at the age of 11. It's kind of wild. But so she's starting the 6th grade transition next year.
My son is 6. He'll be 7 this summer. My daughter's 3. And everyone says that like girls and boys mature differently. And you never think about it. I mean, you kind of, okay, but I swear my daughter acts like she's 7 now.
They do. Girls mature quicker.
It's so crazy. I can't even know how to explain it. I mean, you always hear about it and then you see it. Like my son's older, but he's a boy. He does dumb stuff, and it's like my daughter walks around and she's like, "Axton, that is going to get you in trouble. Do not do that."
No, I have to remind myself she's 11. She's super good. I tried to get her into building stuff. She's more of an artist. She's a really good drawer. And then we got 2 dogs, and that's about it. I work a lot. I'll say that. I work on the side and stuff, but yeah, it's a job that doesn't feel like work if you enjoy it. So I can say that for sure.
Well, that's good. Well, that's awesome.
You're getting paid to put things together and make something. So
that is pretty fun. I can't argue with that. I mean, I always loved it. Getting to kind of tinker with it, that was always fun. So, like, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but, we'll wrap it up. So, usually at the end, I'll ask people, the one is, what do you guys do? What do you do outside? But, the other one is anything business-wise that I might be able to help you with? I mean, is there any questions you want to ask me that I might be able to help out with?
The biggest issue we've had lately is just like the stain. Just getting the stain. It's only with that water-based product. Other than that, we don't do anything crazy finish-wise. We're not doing what's that Vero metal stuff. We're never going down that path. It looks really cool to see. It's like intriguing. Yeah, it looks intriguing, but I don't ever foresee us doing that. Again, I'm someone that pretends to hate painting, and I'm sitting here watching Instagram stories about painting. So
it's a love-hate relationship
between Jekko, Kyle, and Matt out in England. It's just like those are like the feeds that I watch, and I just go, that looks kind of fun. Fortunately, most of our stuff, even if it's custom and kind of on the high end side, like big Chicago jobs, we're not doing any like wild finishing, which is okay. I just don't like. It might come down our path one time. We've been doing some brass work lately, but nothing crazy. It was just exit pieces. If you saw those legs, that was kind of wild to do.
Oh, yeah. Those are pretty cool.
And even that, it was like we had no idea what we were doing. I was just figuring it out on the spot 4 days in advance. So, yeah, I know. And it turned out pretty cool and stuff. So that's actually more fun sometimes. It's just paint a shaker door, obviously. But no, I think most of my questions you're going to get, at 2 a.m. when I think of something.
I mean, that's when the most of me, and you're laying in bed, you're like, shit, Get that question out before I forget it in the morning. Well, man, Kevin, I appreciate you coming on, man. This has been awesome. Good talk. I like picking people's brains. Yeah. Get to talk some more. We have to get you back on once you play with that stain a little bit and see what you think. I'd be interested to hear that.
Yeah. I wrote it down, so I got some ideas. I'll go try to play with it next week.
Awesome, man. Well, everybody go check out Kevin. He's on Instagram at Kevin. It's _Shimer, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Kevin _Shimer. Check out his work. Doing some great cabinet work out there. We appreciate everybody listening. We got new episodes coming out every Monday. If you want to be a guest, give me a shout out. I'd love to have you on. If you've got a guest idea, man, shoot them to me on Instagram. That's the whole purpose of this, is sharing knowledge and getting people's stories out there. Again, Kevin, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Everybody have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. We thank everyone for joining. Keep hustling, keep learning, and never settle for anything less than your best. Remember, the path to perfection is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.